Look what I just ordered. This trip is going to be great.
Bring enjoyment back to your game with golfknickers.com. Traditional golf knickers in bold colors and plaids, all with same-day shipping. Over 100 different socks and matching sweaters. Perfect for corporate outings, weddings, and special events.
Thanks, golfknickers.com, for making our tournament such a success.
Make your experience memorable.
Best time ever.
Call today for a free catalog.
You heard me talk about Squares golf shoes and how they help you hit the golf ball further. And many of you are saying, oh, come on, Faldo, give us a break. How is that possible? But yes, they do. And it's proven with science.
What we noticed with the Square shoes was the shoe keeps the pressure in a more stable fashion towards inside of the trail heel, allowing pressure to get to the lead side, generating much more club and speed and distance gain.
Visit squares.com. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares, the distance golf shoe.
And we're back, and my phone is ringing. Umpires. All right, well, it's a busy weekend, that's for sure. Big John Quick, along with the Golf Father, Bill Cuevas, and this segment is sponsored by the Distance Shoe. Yes, proof, not promise. It is Squares shoes. New models coming out. You're going to see some new models here on Big's Golf Talk as well. And we're going to talk more with Robert Winskowitz as far as Squares shoes goes and everything else that's happening with Squares. But they're the sponsor of this segment number 5, before our last segment here on Big's Golf Talk. Yeah. And I'd like to welcome into the show, longtime follower, listener, somewhat of a friend.
Somewhat of a friend.
Sock thief, sock stealer.
Ladies and gentlemen from the golfing dads, the one and only Steve McMillan is joining.
What's going on, guys?
Looks like he needs some sun in his skin there. He looks a little white
in his life.
Yeah.
I need to get on the golf course and have it be 30 degrees, 40 degrees here in Orlando. When every chance I get to play, I have to bundle up. So
that's what it is.
Hopefully, we're past those days now, and we can get back out on nice days. So
he looks like he's ghosting us. Get it?
Cheesy Joe.
Steve McMillan, we've been talking a little bit over the last couple of weeks about the Super League, and obviously the golf media is running ravage with all these comments and all this feedback. We're going to dive deep next segment, and we're going to forego our product of the week and really talk about some of these comments and things like that. But before we talk about the PGA Show and what you've seen at the PGA Show, the Super League, good or bad to one Steve McMillan? Verdict still out.
So name the last spin-off league that was successful with anything and hasn't folded. XFL, USFL, none of these leagues work when you try and spin off. That's been proven. Although none of them had the money that is being put behind this league. I think the challenge that is interesting,
or the support of major names,
right? Is the support? There was the article that came out yesterday that Alan is doing that book with Phil. In Phil's comments that he's trying to do this to leverage to get better working conditions on the PGA Tour. I'm going to go with what Rory said. Your life's not going to change if you get that much more money. Like Rory signed a $250 million deal with Nike originally. Did his life? He said, I still go in the same 4 rooms in my house. Like that's all I do. I just don't see where Bryson getting the reported $240 million, which is twice as much as Tiger made in his entire playing career on the PGA Tour. How is that going to change Bryson's life for the better?
I can answer that. Bryson has not have a family yet, as well as you know,
Yeah, you're lost for it, aren't you?
Look, I'm serious. This damn phone keeps blowing up. Anyway,
okay, what?
So here's the thing. Here's the thing about Bryson. $240 million, doesn't have a wife, doesn't have kids, right?
Right.
That certainly is a great start for your education, for your family. I mean, I'll tell you what, can $240 million change my life? Hell yeah.
$240 right now could change our lives.
Right.
You know what I mean? None of the three of us is ever looking at $240 million. And
with the money that Bryson already has, with the money that Bryson already has, with the money that Phil already has, although there's the reports of does Phil have to pay off gambling debts? You know, with the money that these guys have, does anything change for them? They're not.
Yes.
You know, see, I don't know that it does. What's he buy another house to hide that money?
And Rory could say he walks around in the same four walls, same four rooms, and that's great and all. But I guarantee you, once you start having kids, and those kids are going to need an education, that $240 million will be dwindled down very, very quickly. Especially when his wife leaves him and divorce. Just ask Tiger how much money he had to pay his ex-wife.
Yeah, but did it really affect Tiger? Because Tiger's still supporting his kids. He still has multiple foundations.
Why?
He's opening up restaurants.
Why?
Because he's still making money.
Because he has the $240 million to do that.
But that's what I'm saying. He doesn't need the extra Saudi money. No,
he doesn't need that. And certainly, you know, hearing what Tiger has to say about it certainly backs his position as far as, and we'll dive into that next segment.
Yeah. Let's talk about it next segment.
What he, you know, he's in a better position where, you know, he has Nike. He's creating Nike products himself. He has his own line. He has his own shoes. He has this. He has restaurants. He has stuff to which let's talk about. Phil Mickelson doesn't have his own line of clothing.
No.
You know, Callaway doesn't give him a share of whatever they're selling as far as golf equipment does. They pay him a sponsorship.
Yeah.
You know, they pay him for consulting on short game, you know, equipment and developing these wedges, right? So he gets that consulting money. So some of these guys, so Rory is saying, even Rory is getting money from Nike just, you know, because he's
for being there.
Yeah.
I just don't think that when it comes down to it, here's the question at hand, and it's gonna come down to court anyway. And attorneys are going to get richer over this whole thing on the whole.
Right.
How do you know, if Mickelson goes, Mickelson is fully exempt on the PGA Tour. How do you, he has a lifetime exemption, so does Dustin Johnson. And those two names have been rumored. Mickelson has been way more vocal than Dustin.
Oh, here's the other thing, too. They do go to that Super League. They're not going to have that no longer exemption.
I agreed, but again, it's going to come down to attorneys and courtrooms on whether or not they can or can't. I just think, to me, it's going to get way uglier before it gets better. And the idea that they're supposed to make an announcement the week of the Players, to me, is Greg Norman basically trying to shove it back in the PGA Tour's face because they went and did the World Golf Championships to snub his World Tour that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And so where do you make the announcement? You do it at the Tour's flagship event.
Yeah.
I mean, they said there's 20 guys. They've got 20 guys already.
So it sounds like you're more or less the pro PGA Tour side, whereas I personally am seeing where the Super League can benefit to some players.
I think it could benefit to the players around my age at 46, the mid 40-year-olds who aren't competing on the PGA. You know, throw the Poulter name out there. Who, when was the last time? I mean, he was relevant on the PGA in a PGA Tour event outside of showing up and wearing nice clothes and nice shoes.
But you say Ian Poulter, and people know Ian Poulter,
right?
And Ian Poulter doesn't need the extra money.
No, he doesn't. He could sell one of his houses at Lake Nona. The one
or one of those cars.
He needs more Ferraris. That's all he needs.
Yeah.
Well, then he needs the money to buy more cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got to be realistic. A lot of these guys get a lot of things for free.
Right.
All I gotta do is take a couple pictures of it and oh yeah, share this and here you go.
Yeah.
Take this. Oh, you like that $15,000 watch? Sure. Go ahead. So we already know those things are happening.
Right.
All right, so let Steve finish about his stance on what's happening.
All right, Steve, finish your stance.
I think the idea of it, and again, more golf is good golf as far as I'm concerned. You can never have too much of it, although my wife might argue that point with me. So the idea of it is great. I just do I think that this is going to really divide the tour, and you are going to see some. I mean, you've already seen Justin Thomas come out and call out Phil, and who's caddying for Justin Thomas right now? Who's his caddy? Is Bones. Like there's going to be some issues, with players, and I think it's going to really divide some players on the PGA Tour. And that's where I think this is going to me, it's going to get uglier before it gets better. I'm intrigued to see what happens the week of the players.
In your opinion, really quick, what media outlet would suit best for the Super League?
I think a streaming service, almost like what Amazon is trying to do with their Thursday Night Football thing. Because the other question you have to ask is, with as much control as the PGA Tour has on their media partners, let's say ESPN decides to pick it up. And ESPN has the streaming service on ESPN Plus now. They have PGA Tour Live now on ESPN Plus, and you look at the only
Fox
major
Sports.
network. The only major network that doesn't have it is Fox, and they had the USGA events, and they failed miserably at that. So why would they pick this up at this point? Like, they got out of golf because they knew they couldn't do it.
Well, they would pick it up because they would be getting paid handsomely for it.
I got one last question. We don't have to answer it though. How much is it going to cost us to watch this Super League?
Well, if you're paying out that much money to these players up front, you're going to have to recoup that cost somewhere. I mean, what's PGA Tour Live? $100 a year?
That's where I would switch over, because I'm not going to pay to watch golf. I'm not. I don't think anybody is going to pay a subscription to watch golf.
I mean,
that's going to be what's going to happen.
12 to 14 events, 10 of them in America. They're going to use Trump properties. To me, everything that they're doing with that is trying to snub the PGA Tour, is what they're trying to do, and that's how I see it. Like, it's going to get ugly. I think we're on for a very, very rough roller coaster right now for the next couple months to see what happens with this.
All right, PGA Show.
Yes,
I know on the PGA Show was minimal, but it was a good minimal from my understanding. There was some positives out of the PGA Show, and obviously you were one of the media members there. What did you take out of the PGA Show?
I hung out with Billy on Wednesday. That was a lot of fun.
And Tuesday night.
And Tuesday night, we had a good time Tuesday night at the Squares party. I'm going to say this about the PGA Show. Golf Week roasted the PGA Show that week and said, is this the beginning of the end? And if you went to Demo Day, you could probably have assumed that same thing. Is this the beginning of the end of the PGA Show? Because Demo Day was pretty barren.
For the last few years, Demo Day's been very, very bad.
Well,
because of the weather.
Yeah.
Well, the weather wasn't good. It was cold and wet. But when you literally have Bridgestone as the only OEM there, and they're there with their golf ball, not anything else, and they're
right.
And so Demo Day was, to me, I don't want to say washout. I made one lap around there. You had a putter company. Marshfield Putters was there. They make a great product. It was nice to talk to, equipment people at that point. But going from Demo Day to the show, and I do need to give Billy credit, Biggs. Billy showed me a new parking spot behind the convention center where he could walk right in. So I need to give him some credit for that, because I didn't know that lot existed. So thank you, Billy, for that.
You got it.
But walking in, when Billy and I were walking through the bridge above the floor space, and to see the barren floor space, my first thought was, oh boy.
Yeah.
That being said, I enjoyed the PGA Show this year. And the reason I enjoyed it was that the companies that were there wanted to talk to people.
Yeah.
They wanted to have the conversations. They wanted to talk about their product. And I think that from a standpoint of you weren't overwhelmed because you didn't have Callaway's massive wall-to-wall booth that they put up every year. And don't get me wrong, I mean, they have a ton of products, so great for them. But you didn't have those things. You had vendors that were there in their booths that were saying, hey, listen, you know, this is what we've got. Met some really cool people in the industry. You know, got some, just made some new contacts that I hadn't had before. That's a company, Orca Golf Bags. They're going to challenge Vessel. I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to challenge Vessel as that luxury bag maker. And they're going to be around for a while. They're going to make some noise. They just had a feature on the Golf Channel the other night. Obviously Squares, and Squares had a great week. You know, getting to talk to Bob is always a good thing to do. Desert Fox had a very successful week. They've got some new products coming out. And you guys Bill, you got a custom phone caddy from them too, didn't you? And I
gave you yours. It was in my bag, bro.
Yeah.
I got one too, so it looks really
So you know, they've got some new products coming out that they showed off at the show. Attachments like Big's a cigar holder coming soon.
Talked to Scott about that. I told him we want him on when he gets that to the market. So,
and then I also get you know, this industry, and we've talked about this before. The good people in this industry, and obviously we were all here together on here, remembering our buddy Justice. And I met the guy from Mission Belts that runs Mission Belts, and couldn't literally. I said to him, I said, we have a friend in common. And the minute you mentioned Justice's name, he was like, "Oh, if you're friends with Justice, I need to talk to you." And those were the cool things. I think, you know, everybody was up in arms about this great golf club. And I don't even know how to pronounce it, and I'm going to botch it. It's one club that you can adjust by hand into 14 clubs. I wasn't wowed by it, but I think everybody was up in arms over it because, again, it was a new piece of equipment that was there for golf equipment. I'm a big CBD guy. I met the team from CBDMD. They've got a great product. The new Bridgestone balls are great. The team at Bridgestone has done some great things with that golf ball. So, you know, overall, we had more time to talk to people and get to know somebody versus
spend 15 minutes and move on to your next client.
And you're lucky if you get 15 minutes.
Right.
So that to me was good. Rob from Indy was there. I talked with him from Indy Golf. So it was good to see him. We chatted for a while. But it didn't have that overwhelming feeling. It had that, let's do this. You know, Bill, you were there for what, a day? I went back the next day until about 2:00 and left because I had to pick my kids up from school. But like, it was a good show. I think it put, from a relationship standpoint and from a vendors that wanted to be there standpoint, they all wanted to talk about their product, and that was nice.
Yeah, I think that part was good. You know, I don't think it was a total wash.
No.
I don't think it's the end of the PGA Show.
Nope.
COVID will not have the impact, you know, forever that it has now.
And we're starting to see states lift the mask mandate here in New Mexico. She followed suit behind California, which I thought she would. And we no longer have a mask mandate here in New Mexico. So, I mean, once we start seeing these restrictions be lifted, you know, we're going to see these trade shows. And it's just not golf. Fishing's the same way.
It's
you
everywhere.
know, these golf trade shows locally are canceling for this year. You know, just because the vendors are not there, and you know
they can't come, Diggs. They can't come. If they come in, they can't go back home. You're talking about quarantining here, quarantining at home. It's crazy. I'm good friends with the guys from
Dormy Workshop, and they made the decision not to come this year. The last minute, they had a booth and everything, and they made the decision not to come. And I said, why? And they said, well, our problem is that if we get there, we get down there and one person tests positive before we come back, before we have to fly back to the country, to Canada. Now we're paying for, like, it shuts down half of our operation because somebody's going to stay in quarantine in a hotel room.
Yeah.
So for them, it was kind of we're looking at this at the bigger picture, and I completely understand that.
Yeah.
But I think the show itself, it wasn't the crowd that we've seen in the past, but the people that were there all wanted to be there, and they all wanted to have conversations. And they all wanted to do everything they could. I know a lot of people were worried because there was that weekend was that big storm that dumped in New England, and people were trying to get out of town early so that they could get back and beat the snow up north. But it was a decent week weather-wise. The end of the week was cold, and I unfortunately played golf on Friday and Saturday that weekend and had to wear rain gear over my pants just so that the wind didn't kill me here in Florida. I know people up north are probably making fun of me for that, but it was down in the one day never hit 50 degrees. And for us in Florida, that's cold. So too cold for us down here. So, but no, I mean, I do think it'll be back. I think next year it'll be bigger, and I think it's just going to continue to get bigger as the years go on from COVID. And I do think the equipment manufacturers, again, they had no reason to come. How much money did they make last year without having the PGA Show?
Yeah, but it's not going to be like that. It's not always going to be like that. So,
and
I think it's right now they're maximizing what they can. There was a lot of people that did things smart. There was a lot of indie golf companies that said, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of this, and they did. There's a lot of them. Swing Juice, a bunch of these little people that decide, you know what, I'm gonna throw my money in the hat, and they did, and they got their dividends. We did pay attention to the ones that deserved the attention that was there. There was some really Spectrum. We're gonna have them on the show. There were people out there. Lynx Golf, Otto. If we weren't there, I wouldn't have experienced Otto from Bridgestone. I think this year that stole the show. Otto.
I would agree with that. The golf ball fitter that they're going to have. Yeah,
I don't think anything came close to that specific product. So there was a lot of good. I mean, you didn't have that overpacked, 4-day schedule, run here, run there, party this, run that, run this. It didn't exist. Everything was planned out. I mean, I had meetings that the people weren't there. They weren't even on the booth. So, what do you do? They couldn't man the booth. There wasn't enough people to man them.
All right. Well, we're out of time here. Steve McMillan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
here.
Guys, I appreciate
again,
it. And let's hope and pray they get Oakland Hills Clubhouse back up and after.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about that either. So many prayers to the folks out there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
All right, more Big Golf Talk coming your way. And we head into the last segment right here on Big Golf Talk. We'll be right back.